All right. So hello and good evening, fellow District 5030 Rotarians. Welcome to session number 2 of our virtual Festival of Training. So the district team and leadership and our wonderful presenters put together this Festival of Training, which is a new online pilot program developed to inform Rotarians in our district about everything they need to know for the coming Rotary year beginning July 1st. So we have a packed full May ahead featuring 37 training webinars, all held over Zoom. Tonight's training, Global Grants 101, Funding Your Passion with Rotary, will be presented by Kathleen Davis from the Ballard Club and chair of the Global Grants Committee. My name is Henry Wong. I'm with the Seattle International District Club, and I'll be supporting Kathleen during the presentation. The first thing we'd like to start off with is with the Rotary International Vision. So you may already know this, but it's always good to keep top in mind. But the vision of Rotary International is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And I think this fits right into the theme of our 2020-21 Rotary Year of Rotary Opens Opportunities. So before we get started, we have a couple of Zoom housekeeping things. So during the presentation, if you have any questions, we ask that you use the chat box or the Q&A box, which you'll see at the bottom of your Zoom screen or wherever your control panel is. And then at the end, if we have time for Q&A, then we could use the raise hand function and I can let people speak. But currently all the microphones will be on mute. So just use the chat box or Q&A box if you have questions, and I'll communicate those to Kathleen. And I think now we can turn it over to Kathleen.
Good evening. I'm delighted to be able to present to you an overview of the different grants. Of the different types of grants. So let's get started. So what is your vision? So everything starts with you coming across some situation, either locally or globally, that you feel is so unjust or so terrible that you really want to do something about it. And you're a Rotarian, and so you know that you can get money from Rotary and write a grant and really make a change. So when you come across, let's say, an abandoned building, instead of looking at it as the disaster it is, look at it through your passionate lens and think about what it could be. So I want you to take 30 seconds, think of how you would like to transform this to make it into something that will really make your community around it viable. It could be local or international. And then use your chat box to write just the name of what the project would be and where it is. Is it local or is it some country in the world? I'm going to start the timer. You have 30 seconds. Eight, 7, okay, that's it. So, what would be your first step? Just think about that for a moment, and I'm going to tell you. Your first step is to keep your passion in mind, but then go down to the community and ask them about this. So you're going to find out, what was it? Why did it fail? What is it that you would like to do in your community to make it robust and to really help your community be vibrant? The very first thing is a community assessment, whether it has to do with your local food bank or it has to do with some project out in the world. You always want to start with, what do the beneficiaries want? And then if they can convince you that that would be your passion too, then you're ready to go for a grant. And if you can't, then you need to leave that one and find something else. It also has to be within the 6 areas of focus, which you probably may have already seen before. And these are the 6 areas. You will probably notice that there's one that is missing, which is environment. And the Rotary International Foundation decided that they would include measurements of improving environment in each of these 6, rather than have a whole separate one, because really environment really includes interventions in all of them. So I think that was a very wise choice. You're going to see several slides that have this website down here. This is a very important website that I'll be talking about more, but all the answers that you want to have about grants are going to be on that website. Now, I like to look at it that there are 4 different ways to fund your cause. And so I want you to think of what they might be, and then I'm going to just go through and talk about that. So I think, and actually this was John Matthews' idea, so I pinched it because if it's his idea, it's a great idea. So I think of developing partnerships as what you're doing when you're doing grants. So we're going to talk about first date, group dates, going steady, and then marriage, which is clearly going to be your big global grant. So first date, this is a direct grant from your club. So it probably is, maybe you're giving some money to the food bank, or you're giving money for backpacks for kids, or you're giving money for the dictionaries for 3rd grade. Direct grant. Your club decides, raises the money, they decide how they want to spend it. There's no strings attached unless you attach them. And you can ask for partner clubs to join you. You can do it anytime for any amount. There is no matching, but there's also, you have all the rules to make. So this is like a first date or dipping your toe in the water. It might be a one-off, or it might be a developing relationship that you want to make bigger with volunteering or bigger grants later. So this is just testing. Then, if you want to learn about grants, you might want to partner with other clubs. So you can learn from other clubs that are really doing things and what they're involved in. You can maximize your funds, because a lot of times when you're partnering, it's going to be a matching grant, and that will give you leverage with your funds. It promotes fellowships, of course, because you're working with other people in other clubs. And you can invest broadly. So you can invest broadly in the sense that in our club, for instance, we're invested in stopping malaria in Zambia. We're invested in putting solar panels on a hospital in Tanzania. We're also invested in a local breakfast group that feeds the hungry. So the more you partner, the more you will learn about different causes, and you'll also learn about how to do grants. So invest broadly to learn broadly. Now, maybe you've done some of those things, and now you have an organization that you really want to work with. And again, this applies locally as well as internationally. So the district grants, and if you went to Kathy's talk at 5, you learned about the details. Your district grants, you only get 1 a year per club, and it's managed by the district. So the word district in this case, there's lots of uses of the words district in our district, but the word district here means they manage the matching funds. You apply to the District 5030 for the grant, and you do your follow-up report when you've finished your grant to the district. So the money still comes from Rotary International, but the district manages it. It does not have to be only in the district. It can be local or international. So it's a confusing word, but that means it's managed, the money is managed by the district. It's always less than $30,000 for the part you were doing, but it can be bigger in the sense that if you're partnering with somebody else. So for instance, if there's a senior center that needs a van, and the van costs $50,000, and King County, they've gotten a grant from King County for $30,000, then you can do your district grant for the other 20. So the total grant could be bigger, but usually it's not, and your grant is less than $30,000. Again, though it has a deadline, you only get 1 per club, and it's due September 15th. My advice to you is that you turn it in, if possible, by the 1st of September. So if there are things that need to be changed or they have questions, then you can fix that by September 15th. In my experience, most of the district grants I've written have had to have something changed before I got it in between the 15th. So it's a good idea. Then the payment doesn't come until sometime in November. So it's important for the people that you're doing the grant for to know that. If you started a grant in July, they should know that it's going to be several months before they actually get the money, and they can't start doing the grant until they have the money. And then we get to marriage. So maybe in your district grant, maybe in your direct grants, you've already made a relationship with a local host club in another country, and maybe another nonprofit, or that nonprofit might be based here. But you have to have developed a relationship so that you know that this is going to go through, because these are the bigger grants. They're all over $30,000. They can go up. There's actually not much limit as to how far they can go. It can go to 2 million, but you're not going to start with those for sure. So you must have an international club, which is us usually, almost always, and a local club, which is a Rotary club that is hopefully close to the project and the community that you're working with, because they want that local host club to be involved in the project itself. They are the nonprofit will be the contractor to you and the host club. So they have to be involved and know what's going on down there. So they don't want a host club that's like 300 miles away. You can submit anytime during the year. And those are really the main things about the overview of the matching grants. Now, for all the matching grants, they are host community driven, as I've already talked about. Start with the beneficiaries and what they want to make it sustainable. And it needs to be measurable. So you set up your measures, and then you test how well you're doing by the measures that you set up. So it needs to be measurable. So for instance, you can't say that you're going to decrease hunger because you gave a refrigerator to the local food bank. But you can say that they were able to store a certain amount of extra food and that you were able to feed this many more people. So measures are usually, are always, I think, quantitative. There can also be qualitative ones, but make sure the measures that you put there are ones that you can show that you've achieved them or not achieved them, and not achieved them, why not? The other matching grant requirements is that there's a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, that has to be signed by your club's president with the district each year. On this website that's at the bottom is a copy of the MOU so that you can pull it out and put it, bring it to the attention of the president of your club. That MOU will say that your club is responsible for any grants you write. You're responsible for the money, you're responsible for the outcomes, it's all yours. In addition, 2 club members need to do trainings like this each year. When we put out the curriculum to start with, we said that this would count as a third, but I've got a great surprise for you. We've changed our minds, and this class will count as one of those trainings 100%. So you need 2 members to take one of the 4 grants classes that we're doing this week, and they will all be streamed, so you can take them at another time if you're not all here. For district grants, there's another requirement that has to do with how much the club has donated to the Rotary Foundation. So you can see the numbers are there, and that's not true of the global grants, but it is true of the district grants. Rotary Heaven, that's where all that matching money comes from. But where does it come from? Really, it comes from you. And you probably already know this, but all the matching funds are the money that you've donated to the Rotary Foundation, pooled as a district. And we're one of the top districts in terms of how much money we pool to send in, which is why we can do such a tremendous job with our grants. It goes to the Rotary Foundation, it stays there 3 years. Hopefully they make money off of it to keep for their administration, and then they send it back to the district. They send half of it back to the district, and save the rest for the matching grants for the global grants. What comes back to the district gets split in half, half for district grants, half for global grants, and that's how the district gets their district designated funds, their DDF. So to summarize, what are the differences between global and district grants? There's a financial difference. Who manages them from the point of view of approving them and saying how much money you're going to get, but you manage the actual grant in terms of implementation. Very simple form for the district, very detailed, complicated form and process for the global grants. The district can be local or global. The global ones are global, international with host clubs. A deadline for district grants, no deadline for the other, and the matching is 1-to-1 up to about 12,000 as long as the money lasts, and 3 partners, and then there's a whole calculation for less than that. For global grants up to certain limits, it's a 2.51 match, and that 2.51 match means that for any $1,000 you invest in that global project, it will become $3,500. So the leverage is tremendous. Again, all these details are on that website. And here's the website. So this website is, the URL is at the bottom there. And this is our foundation website. Jeff Brennan, the head of the foundation, put it together really well. So it's simple. District grants, everything you need to know there. And the forms. Global grants, everything you need to know there. AG Express grants, Rotaract grants. Over here is something that has been added, and it's a one-off, and I'm going to tell you about it now. It says Disaster Response Fund grants. There is one grant that we're going to talk about because it's brand new. This is hot off the press. Okay, so Jeff through Mill Creek has gotten, Jeff through the 5030 Foundation has gotten a disaster grant of $25,000, and he's using it to give each club that applies for it $750. That's off the top. It doesn't have anything to do with your club's budget. It's extra money. So if you apply for it, you can have it and use it if it's a COVID-19 related cause. There are 2 things you can do with it. You can spend it locally, like in your local food bank or something like that, or there is a global grant that will be $52,000 for King County and Snohomish counties. So it's a special kind of grant that you can partner with. So it is leveraged. So if you give the $750 as a partnership to that Mill Creek grant, it will leverage to $2,625. So good bang for the buck. Then they will take, they're raising $15,000, and then that will leverage to $52,000. And then they will take that $52,000 and support local organizations, excuse me, in King County and Snohomish that will be able to do sustainable upgrades for the next phase of the virus, or to be able to catch up even this way. So that, for instance, again, could be a refrigerator for a food bank. It could be, if a group is serving meals, it would be for a table that would have a plastic cover so that the people serving the food can do it safely or more safely, and things like that. So those organizations will be applying to this grant to get those things. It seems a little turned around and confusing, and it's actually a genius way that we got this money from Jeff and Mill Creek. But suffice it to say, you can apply either to be a partner with this grant, or you can use it locally. And that is on right there. The details are there on that website. So here we are to help you. We like to advise, we like to teach, we like to then also the district grants and global grants, we evaluate your proposals and help you with how much we can match. So there's a Q&A. You want to put your questions there, or Henry's going to take over now and let me know about the questions. So you have qualified now for your training Again, there have to be 2 people who qualify with any one of these trainings. If you are thinking of writing a global grant and you've never done it before, please come to my talk on Thursday at 7. That'll be an overview of the details of what you need for your global grants. And then if you're really writing one now or plan to soon, at 10 o'clock on Saturday, I'm going to do a workshop. We're going to go through the application online that has everything you need to do step by step so that you will really get a good idea of how to actually write them. That'll be an interactive workshop. It says it's going to be 90 minutes, but no way am I going to do a Zoom for 90 minutes. So it's going to be less than an hour, I promise. Okay, Henry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathleen. So I see one question in the chat from Elena. You said you're in the international club. Do you also need a club in the other country?
We are the international club, and so yes, you need a host club in the other country. And maybe the question is, could we be that country? And yes, like if Canada wanted to do a global grant and we are the beneficiaries, that's fine, just any 2 countries. And in fact, that special grant that I told you about, Guatemala is sponsoring it. They're the international club and we are the host club.
Perfect, thanks. And we have a couple of questions in Q&A. So one from Ryan is, can you talk about the new Grants of Scale program?
The grants of scale, the big grants? Not really. Not sure. Maybe you could ask a little bit what you want to know.
Let me ask the other question and then I can open up the mic for Ryan to ask a follow-up. So a couple questions from Ruth Ann Alford. Do hunger-related organizations in King and Snohomish counties apply directly or through the club?
They would apply, it's a Mill Creek grant, so they would apply to Mill Creek.
And then a follow-up question, do you know who the hunger-related grant agencies are?
I think it's being managed by Northwest Harvest, but those agencies will apply. It could be any of them. They will apply this, here's my proposal, here's what I want, and then they'll evaluate it till the money runs out. But they'll have about 52,000 to spread around. Did that answer it, Ruth Ann?
And what will make it a little easier too is so we have some attendees on, so if you raise your hand, if you click the raise hand, I can just unmute you and let you ask your questions directly, which may make it easier. You have to bear with us, there's 50 attendees, which is awesome. So I'm gonna allow Jeff to talk. Jeff might have some insight on.
Okay, yeah, good idea.
Jeff, you're—
Okay, can you hear me okay?
We can, yep.
Okay, thanks. So just to clarify the program, Harvest Against Hunger is actually going to be facilitating it. So basically food banks and others that are interested in capacity upgrades or new capacity are going to apply through Harvest Against Hunger. So we've got that we're still working on all the documentation, but they're basically our NGO that is going to be managing the program for us. And feel free to contact me directly if you got any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Ryan, I'm unmuting you.
Hi. I had read in the February Rotarian it was talking about the programs of scale grants, where instead of partnering with international Rotary clubs, you're actually partnering with NGOs. And I was just curious how that, if you had any additional information about that.
I'm going to give that to Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah, am I on again?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah. So that is actually, it's a very interesting program. The very, very, very large grants that basically NGOs could apply for directly. We did have one that I'm aware of in our district who did apply. It is a very lengthy process. They were supposed to go through some scaling down process to get to like a finalist selection, if you will. And my understanding is that has not occurred yet. So this was really the first try at it. I'm not certain how many applications they got from around the world. Again, I think it was Rotarian Malaria Partners in our area applied for it. There is more information on Rotary.org site on it.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw it in February, and with the application due by March 15th, that seemed like an extremely short deadline.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely.
So maybe next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So I think there's another question that was also related to this about whether or not clubs have to contribute to the project financially to participate. And I believe the answer to that is not for that $750 grant.
Right. Yes, that's true. The $750 you can add, the club can add to that either if you use it locally or if you use it as a partnership to the Mill Creek grant, but you don't have to. It doesn't affect your budget.
Yeah. And then I have Sheila, which I'll unmute, but there was also a question in chat. Do the $750 grants only apply to hunger?
Any COVID-19 disaster reliefs. So it doesn't have to be hunger, but so I mean, it could be probably the iPads for kids who don't have any and can't do their schoolwork or something like that.
And I'm going to allow Sheila to talk now for your question.
I also had just a couple questions. One, the COVID-19 grants just popped into my head. Could they be used for people in high-risk categories, say, that need tests and can't afford them because the tests aren't free? That just popped into my head. I was curious about whether or not that would be allowed. And then the other, I'd never heard of these. What did they call them? Grants of scale. What is, and where can I just read more about that?
On the Rotary International website.
Okay, and they're like very large grants, I guess, from NGOs directly to Rotary?
Jeff, it sounds like the deadline was March 15th.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm not obviously going to apply for them now. I wanted to just learn more about them.
Jeff has to answer that.
I'm going to go ahead and just put the link in the chat line for people to see if they want to go see more information on it.
Good, thank you.
And then we had a question from Martha on, are the applications forms available by clicking the district grants button shown on the grant resources slide?
For district grants, yes, the forms are there. The online application for global grants is not there, but there might be a template for it there because that one you have to apply online. But the one that you can send to the committee is there. Yes, the forms you need are there. And also the follow-up forms when you've accomplished your district grant and you should send in a progress report or a final report, those forms are there too.
Perfect. And then thank you, Jeff, for posting that link.
It sounds
so
like Howard has a question. We need to finish, but I think Howard has a question. He's in the line. You better answer him.
Okay. All right, Howard, you're on.
So if a club here wants to do a project with a club in another country, do they have to go through that other country's district, or can they just work directly with that club?
So they work directly with that club, but the district will be signing off on it, just like our district signs off on our side.
So both districts have to sign off on projects?
Correct.
Got it.
International projects. Global grants, not district grants.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So I think that's it for time.
Good.
So, but this will be recorded or is being recorded and will be available to watch for anyone that missed it, or if you want to rewatch to get the wonderful information that Kathleen shared. Right. So, but other than that, definitely check the schedule for all the remaining trainings. We definitely have a packed May for this festival of training. So looking forward, we had 50 attendees on this session. So looking forward to
It's awesome.
the same for all the remaining sessions.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.